Job market. Mark Anthony Dyson talks about on his podcast.
Yes. This isn't just about scarce jobs. It's about completely fake postings, fake employers, fake recruiters, even fake
It
advice.
sounds like a minefield.
It can be. Dyson really stresses vigilance. Job seekers have to verify everything, research the company Glassdoor, Reddit, wherever, be super skeptical of unsolicited offers, check email addresses, websites.
Wow, it adds a whole other layer of stress, doesn't it?
It really does. Coaches, you need to equip your clients to spot these scams. Critical thinking is key here.
Job scams are stealing your password. Believe it or not, passwords are the most precious asset that you should have online. I'm going to go through every single aspect of password management, and I think it's a good conversation for us to have, because that's how job scams begin. They're wanting to get your personal information, and they'll get it no matter what, and they'll try different things to get it, unless, of course, you hand it right to them. I want to go through some of the basics on why this applies to you or what you can look for as far as people trying to steal your passwords. I think it's a basic tenet of defense that everyone needs to be aware of and be educated about how to defend against it. Let's talk about some of the basics here. These apply to every aspect of privacy and security online, your financial and personal. One is they never give you a password to anyone. Never. Two is they always use a password manager. I think that's one of the best ways to use it, especially as passwords are now going to be required to be longer and have different characters, and you'll need to look forward to that. Three is that you'll need to use that MFA, which is multi-factor authentication in all circumstances. And lastly, be a critical thinker. More of us really need to lead with skepticism and analyze the credibility of job offers, websites, and communications to discern whether legitimate opportunities and fraudulent schemes are at bay. Also, verify the authenticity of job posts. Assess the reliability of sources and contribute to technically personal information and financial security. Now, community does help, especially if you ask in public posts if something is okay. A lot of times that tends to deter the scammers, but I think that is also could be used very effectively, especially when you get engagement on those posts. In a landscape, I think critical thinking is a big part of the job search there. So you might want to keep that in mind. I'll break down each of these three being used to get your information. There's a total of 7, so you can view all 7. One is fake job application portals. Now, how it works, they say we're a make to professional career site or a secure application form that mimics a real company's job portal. Now, the background scenarios that the site probably escaped the real sites, knowing most people don't look for the full depth of content. Although much of it appears bare, it is enough to gain the victim's trust. The goal of a fake job application portal, you're prompted to log in using an email and a password. And if you reuse that password to your bank and PayPal and other financial institutions that you access, they've got a direct entry point. You think it's safe to reuse passwords, but it's exactly when you shouldn't. I hope you never get this far, because the further you're in, the more likely or the more unlikely you'll turn back and quit. Now, clues are the URL slightly misspelled, odd subdomains like careers-companyname.xyz, or the page doesn't exist on the company's real site. It's like parking in a town with stores, barbershops, and bars with no one around. If you're outside inside, it looks weird, it feels weird. It feels like a ghost town. literally that's the way some people really feel. They've commented that. So again, and when it comes to portals that are fake, look for those signs and that should help you out. Secondly is malicious attachments. Now, how it works, you send a PDF or a Word document labeled job application, offer letter, or job description containing malware. As someone on the call center team back in the day, the malware had affected the entire network we were on. That time and money was lost unnecessarily because everyone would say, don't click the link. As sure enough, one person did. So it's an old trick. It's an effective one because people always fall for it. Again, the curiosity and state of mind has a lot to do with it too. If you're anxious or stressed out, depressed, those things are going to affect your decision making, and sometimes doesn't add up to the best judgment as well. The malicious attachments goal doesn't always shut down your system. And on the contrary, once open, your malware records your keystrokes, capture passwords, or install a remote access tool. They're trying to get to your personal information to make a financial coup. And that's the thing we want to avoid. The clues of a malicious attachment is the file asks you to enable macros or allow content, which can execute hidden malicious code. Macros are, in case you don't know, macros are many programs embedded within files like Word documents and Excel spreadsheets to automate tasks. In this case, we're specifically referring to applications or any documents the fake company asks you to open. However, cyber criminals can exploit this feature to embed and execute malicious code. Look out for that. The third one, phishing emails. Now, how phishing emails work, it poses as a recruiter or HR manager, hiring manager, who needs you to verify an account before an interview. The link leads to a fake login page for the email, bank, and payment processor. Alternatively, they may instruct you to visit their WhatsApp, Zoom, or Microsoft Teams meeting portal to interact with them via message, or try to get your personal information. Now, the goal really is just to try to get your personal information, but they also try to steal work credentials. So some weird reason, over a year ago, they asked for you to send in your former company's ID to verify that you work there. And I really never was sure how that even worked. But the whole idea of fake employees coming to mind was that if they had that information, they can use that and try to leverage that to get company secrets. That's the long term. The clues that allowed the phishing emails use that the tone's urgent, that the message is generic, sent, and sometimes they don't even tell you what position that you're going to be working, and there's no great detail to it. There's mismatched email addresses that they'll use, and especially you should watch out for the ones that are misspelled. Email, the Yahoo email addresses with those extensions. They'll make it seem like these are exceptional hiring circumstances in case you start asking questions. Now, if you're feeling desperate, you're likely that you could be seeking relief, some kind of financial relief, or validation of your work. You just won't know. But those are the three I'll cover here in the podcast, and I'll follow the same formula in the article. The article is a quote checklist, but really you'll find that the very same principles apply to the direct deposit setup scams, a fake background check, or credit report links, work from home equipment purchase requests, and social media DMs with job offers. There are more scams that are out there, but these seem to be the most popular ones. And I just really want you to know the signs and be careful. So I hope you'll capture the spirit of what I've offered as solutions, or at least know the signs and know when you hear certain things that you're shut off. And I've always said one red flag should be enough for you to disengage from transacting while communicating with them. Hopefully you'll be able to use that to all your online activity. I want you to always clarify, verify, but don't just apply. Make it your mantra, because questioning everything will only make things worse for them. Not questioning will make it worse for you, especially when you're prioritizing the protection of your personal information. I think it's important for you to provide the right context and environment for your children to learn to question it. My wife and I are very intentional teaching our boys who to question things that feel a little off or don't seem right. Ultimately, I want you to job search safely. Thanks so much for listening or watching the Job Scam Report podcast. You can find the show again on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, in the next segment, I want you to be sure to listen to a short interview that I was on the Blind Blaming Beyond podcast with Kevin St. Clergy. I was invited to talk about myriad of things regarding job search, and we spent a little time talking about job scams. Check this out.
When I was preparing for, you just spent a lot of time preparing for these, and I did go through quite a bit of your website, and you've written extensively about job scams, and I haven't been victim to them, but I've been approached by them, and I get text messages every week from my assistant saying, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Just a scam." What are some common red flags that job seekers should watch out for to avoid falling victim to these scams?
If you've never approached an employer and you get something out of the blue, it's likely a scam these days. Now, it's possible that recruiters are cold calling you. It's possible, but they're going to do everything they can to make themselves very clear that they are actually the recruiter for the company. One of the things that often happens is that people get it by text. They'll get it by email. People have gotten phone calls too. People have gotten LinkedIn messages too. But very often, it's not very specific to that person's skill set. They don't say, "We see here that you had this," and they're asking more questions rather than telling you they had this great, unbelievable offer. They're usually unbelievable. They're usually remote. They're usually flexible. And it's usually a very generous pay scale that doesn't exist, and show you how ridiculous they are. Some of them have been even to process paper.
Interesting.
You're willing to pay you $35 an hour. You only have to work 4 hours a week, and people have made up to $10,000 a month. And I'm like, the math doesn't even make any sense. And most of the time it doesn't. So job seekers should not feel guilty in being rude and cutting those people off. And if there is a legitimate job, which is unlikely to happen in that kind of way, they're going to make themselves really clear. They're going to be willing to prove themselves and make sure they're clear that they are the recruiter for the company. And unless they're being that transparent, they're not going to lead you to a WhatsApp site or a Zoom site to text back and forth with you. They're not going to do that. That's what scammers do. So those are the little signs that you could begin with and start weeding out. And if it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right.
And with the rise of AI, which I know you're hearing a lot more about now, as and I finally adopted it this year, and automation, how do you see the future of job searching and recruitment evolving?
I think one of the things that job seekers are going to have to learn is learn how to use it, and learn how to use it on a daily basis, and make that a part of it, understand to get the most value out of it. I think the people who are more industry centric will have an easier time than those who are generalists or just looking for a job then probably a lot of your audience have specialties and they're in specific industries, and they're probably hearing a lot of the talk, and